We will start with the roll call, please. Ms. Hilton? There you go.
Gina,
Here.
Craig, Amy,
Here.
Scott,
Present.
Ray,
Here.
Rob,
Here.
and Greg.
All right, so we do have a quorum. We'll begin with our business items. First item of business is consideration and appropriate action relating to a request for the approval of the consent agenda. All matters listed under consent are considered by the commission to be routine and will be enacted by one motion. Any commissioner, however, may remove an item from the consent agenda by request. A motion to adopt the consent agenda is non-debatable. Does anyone wish to pull any items from the consent agenda? No. I would like to pull items 1F through 1P, including F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, and P. Is there a motion on the remaining items?
So moved.
Second.
Let's vote, please.
Gina,
Yes.
Amy,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Ray,
Yes.
Rob.
Yes.
That motion carries. That leaves us to agenda item number 2, which is consideration and appropriate action relating to items removed from the consent agenda. And after correspondence with staff and discussion, I think it's appropriate that we continue items 1F through 1P, the minor amendments to the comprehensive plan, to our November 21st meeting. We can get more information, more time to look these over.
So we need a motion.
I make a
Yes.
motion to continue items 1F through 1P. Second.
Let's vote, please, Marseille.
Gina,
Yes.
Amy,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Ray,
Yes.
and Rob.
Yes.
Motion carries. That brings us to agenda item number 3, which is PA 24-37. It's a request for a comprehensive plan land use map amendment from high-intensity single-family to riverfront tourist commercial, general location 715 and 719 East Apache. Mrs. Hilton, please.
I'll probably need that board so I can change the pictures of the keyboard. Thank you. Nope. I was gonna try. This is when we all say, wow, we miss Brandon. Is it? It's gonna be a clunky meeting, that's all I can say. Okay, well, let's go, Brendan. Okay, so this case, the applicant is present this evening. We've met multiple times with this applicant, and Mr. Macy has spoken with them on the phone prior to coming to the request before you this evening. We met with them, and they have two properties, one 715 East Apache, and the other one is 719 East Apache. Both of these properties are currently rental properties, and they are looking to change the comprehensive land use plan and change the zoning. So I've heard from a couple of people, and let me move this window over a little bit. Let me show you this page here. So the two properties that we're talking about are right here, and this is Village on Main, and you see the access coming through here. This is Aquarium Place, and this is a little dead end that ends right here at Thrive Apartments. So this is Thrive, this is Village on Main, and these properties front Apache. So I'm gonna say for item number 3, it says PA 2437, request for a comprehensive plan land use map amendment from high-intensity single-family to riverfront tourist commercial. And that is not a actual category in our zoning code, so we will not be able to take action on the comprehensive land use map this evening. But I do want to show you where it's at, and I want to go ahead and have the conversation because I feel like that will give us better direction when I come back with that land use map amendment. So we did advertise it as local commercial, but the agenda item is not written correctly. So I apologize for that. But here's the location, and you can see this was basically to 7th Street is considered the downtown core. That might be 9th, or there's 9th. And then we have this area, which on this particular map is a hot pink area, but it is considered a transitional area. And then we have the actual colors down here. So let me see if I can zoom in. It's blurry, but I can zoom in. So it is currently high-intensity single-family, and they are looking to do something more along the lines of commercial. This is the original comprehensive plan map. I can zoom in there. Oops. You know what's frustrating is about Word is these little boxes move around, and if you're not paying attention, they end up in the wrong spot. But it's right here, basically below that. So just a little couple of images of the properties that we're talking about and the request before you. So when we met with them, the original application, I don't exactly remember all the details, but I wasn't committed to a direction. I've gone every thought possible from a land use perspective. It's kind of a unique place in Jenks because it's just one block off of Main Street, and because it is close to Village on Main, where it was originally supposed to be a mix of uses, but and it's very close to the restaurants on the east side, but probably those properties will develop. I believe they have permission to do additional apartments. Hopefully we get some retail instead of apartments personally, but so on the north side, it could go retail or apartments because that PUD allows for both. And then on the west side of these two properties, you have, let's see here. You have 2 more lots. These are also rental properties, and then this one here is vacant. So you have to kind of ask yourself, what would this little piece on Aquarium adjacent to all this RTC and adjacent to apartments and potentially retail. We don't know for sure what will happen on the north. What we do know is there is currently a subdivision, Pilgrim's, I think Pilgrim's Edition, something like that, on the south. And this little subdivision is newer. It was part of, I think it was originally part of Senko and maybe was replatted, I don't remember. These lots are not platted, so any redevelopment would require platting. If this were to go, and I'm trying to talk you through all the thoughts that I had. If this were to go some type of commercial, we would want it to be accessed from Aquarium, therefore allowing you a larger buffer on the south side and using Apache at that point more like an alley. And one of your former colleagues called me, who is now a city councilor, and he loves this stuff. And so he talked through the whole thing with me, had the same concerns and thoughts that I had when I went through it. I heard from Ms. Montgomery. She also had the same thoughts and concerns that I had. In the end, I decided, as I told them, to go bold and ask for RTC zoning to match what is north of it and what is east of it and west of it. So knowing that there would have to be some good buffering and setbacks on the south side adjacent to this neighborhood. So that was kind of where I landed. Like I said, the applicant is present. We cannot have the comprehensive plan amendment, but I do think that it is the appropriate time to go ahead and have that conversation. If you do not feel comfortable with the request to rezone to, number 4 is JZ 24696, request to rezone from RS1 to RTC. If you're not comfortable with that, then I cannot, a lot of times we can say, well, they ask for RS3, but we can go to RS1, and you can do that during the public hearing. But we can't go from a commercial to a residential. Or any, like, it doesn't matter if apartments might even be more intense than a commercial use, because a lot of times they are. If you have an office building or something that goes in there, you're gonna see maybe 4 or 5 people from 8 to 5. If you have apartments there, then you might have 20 additional people in that neighborhood. So I didn't have a strong opinion. I just wasn't sure the direction, and I think that this is a great time for the public to give us their input, but also for the planning commission to hear about it and make their recommendation. If you choose to hear from the applicant, and they can explain their own visions and how they got to this place. But it's a good time to have this conversation, even though we can't take action on the comp plan. But again, we could not downzone it in this hearing. They would have to come back with a new application. So that's, I think, all I have to say. Did I make y'all all confused?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, shoot. I thought that was really simple. So would you all like to ask me questions?
I think so,
It's okay.
yeah. Yeah, I'm sure it is simple for someone with a planning degree. Questions for Mrs. Hilton about this?
I think maybe my confusion would be we're not deciding on the comp plan. So then what is the decision tonight?
You can, so what the feedback that we need is, if you're willing to rezone it, then I can bring the comp plan amendment back later and do it at that time. So I talked to Ms. Montgomery today. Brendan and I often have different philosophies on how to put things on the agenda. And so I like to always do the comp plan amendment first and then follow up with the rezoning. It doesn't have to be that way. The zoning says, does it meet the intent of the comprehensive plan? It doesn't say, does it match the land use map? Does that make sense? So I think that this is a little area where there is some gray, and you have the opportunity to make the decision, the direction that you want those lots, and possibly even the lots to the west to go. So Councilor Brown felt like if it was the whole piece, he would be more comfortable with it than just doing a comp plan amendment on the 2 RS1s. And so obviously, if you believe that our Riverfront Tourist Commercial is appropriate in that area, you can recommend approval of that, and it can move forward, noting that we would follow up with a minor amendment or a major amendment to the comprehensive plan.
Okay, so process and timing wise, that comp plan has to be revised first or amended first, then go back and do that, or?
That's what I was saying. It doesn't have to be. You can approve a recommendation of approval on the zoning. It's not my preference, but we have done it more than once. That's why a lot of times we get what I call cleanup. A lot of those minor amendments are cleanup because it didn't quite match up, so I'm like, hey, let's make this match. And so it doesn't always happen the first time when you do your rezoning. What the comprehensive plan says is it needs to match the intent of the comprehensive plan. It does not say, thou shalt match the comprehensive plan land use map first. It doesn't say that. It's just the comprehensive plan is a land use guide. It is not codified, it is not the law, it is a recommendation. And so, obviously, if you approve a zoning that needs a comp plan amendment, it is assumed that you intend to approve the comprehensive plan amendment. And it can be part of your motion. It's not necessary, but it could be if it gave you more comfort.
So is this piece of property, the RS1, going to be sort of that move to the RTC so that the properties on the west can be the same, that whole area can be the same?
Well, it's not the same, so if you go, and that was what Counselor Brown's concerns were, that he would feel better if this whole block right here, this whole yellow patch was all going to local commercial. That would make more sense to him than just doing the 2 lots, and that was his concern.
Agreed.
Yep.
Is, if we change the comprehensive plan to provide that whole block to be RTC, then even though the rental properties are there, can they stay there as?
Yes, yeah,
rental
it's just a
properties?
guide. It just says, hey, if
Okay.
anyone ever decides they want to do something with this property, then the city is recommending local commercial.
And I think that's great use of that block, that piece of the block. The houses across the street may not agree to that, or agree that that is a
Sure.
great use, but it's right up against the bank, and it's right up against that whole hot pink area.
It's kind of a dead-end area, yeah.
And so that makes a whole lot of sense.
So
Do
this,
we know what the vision is of that piece of property?
I would defer to the applicant. I don't think there's a specific plan right now. There is maybe, I don't know. They can answer that for you. When we've talked,
When
and
we-
it's been several months ago.
Yes, understand.
When we talked, there wasn't a specific plan at that time.
So Chairman, should we just wait to change the comprehensive plan before acting on this one?
Well, no action can be taken on number 3 tonight because it was not advertised properly. So
Understood.
action can be made, the way I understand it, we can take action on agenda item number 4 if it stays the same as written, correct? If it
Yes.
changes to, if we decide that the RTC is not something that we want right there, and we're asking for something different, that would require a new application. So number 3, no action is going to be taken. Number 4, there is the possibility of action on that.
And may I clarify?
Yes. Yes.
If you wanted to go from a commercial type use like RTC to local commercial, you could do that without another public hearing. But you could not go from commercial to, to residential. So if you thought apartments were better there or townhomes were better, tonight we could not vote to go from RTC to townhome. That would have to be a new advertisement. But RTC to maybe local commercial would be fine in this case.
My thought is that that would be a great place for additional sales tax revenues.
That was, I think, where I ultimately landed. I'm like, well, we're always looking for sales tax around here.
All right, any other questions for Ms. Hilton? Amy?
Maybe just one more about Apache. If I'm correct, and I know I drove down in that area, but Apache's just the dead end that's
Yep.
now just goes to those rentals and that's it, correct?
Yes, so you have
Okay.
4 rental properties and a vacant lot. And then this is Apache Place.
So
And it
would
ends right there.
Apache just be, I know you said like alleyway, but would that be closed off or not utilized at all to where
Oh, no.
that did provide more of a buffer for the homeowners right there? I mean,
Most likely it would be used as some type of alley, not the primary access. It would be a secondary access or
for
like
like
an alley.
businesses right there, okay. Just trying to think of it, how we could create a little more of a buffer, if that's commercial and that's your backyard, what, a little bit more of a buffer there.
Yep.
So currently, those addresses are on East Apache Place. Would you
Yes.
foresee the new addresses being an aquarium place?
Yes, absolutely,
They're probably gonna flip that.
yes. Not likely for residential, we would keep it, if some type of duplex or apartments or something went in, we would keep it on Apache Place. And then this would be kind of just a big fence, and, which also is kind of not really ideal for a commercial district.
Mhm. Okay.
I had a chart in here, I think, let me find it. So I did try to show what the different setbacks and things, if it was local commercial, commercial shopping, RTC, RS1, or RS3. I did not include at the time any type of multifamily. So you can see here the differences. I think rear yard, 10 feet, but we also have in the code requirements where you have to step back even further from residential. So you have to have certain types of landscaping and screening and different things. So, I mean, it would be similar to Fiddler Acre that has the gym coming on at Burn Boot Camp. It would be similar to that, how it backs up on one side. It's homes that have been retrofit to be offices, but on the north side is actually residential. Mhm. So here's the actual map. There's the land use map. That's it.
So you're saying if it went to RTC that could we write in public access only from aquarium and not have any type of,
It's in
Traf-
in the staff report already, but
Okay.
on street zoning, you can't adopt it with regulations.
okay,
But it would, there's other things, other reasons why staff would encourage it and possibly enforce it, the other things in the code that would encourage the development. I don't think no one commercial is gonna wanna face Apache. So I don't think it's really an issue.
Gina, Ray, anything right now? No? All right, we'll go ahead and open the floor. Let's hear from the applicant if they wish to come kind of give us an idea of how we ended up at this point and what the expectations may or may not be for this property. If you would, please give your name and address for the record. Thank you.
Okay. I'm Carrie Brown, 938 West C Street, here in Jenks. These are rentals. The property was for sale for a while. I believe it just behooves me to get it in the commercially zoned area that the city looks like it's going for. I don't know, my daughter lives in the one house, the longer one, and the littler one, I'm dealing with some renters now. So it's for the future. I don't have any plans, but if it were to sell, I think it would help me. Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions for Mrs. Brown? Nope. All right, thank you, ma'am. All right, anyone else in the audience wish to speak on this item? Agenda item number 3 is what we're on.
Charlotte Montgomery, 10612 South Fir Avenue. The first 2 points I want to make is that encroachment, this is a transitional area, so to me, this is not black and white, it's really gray. But encroachment on the neighbors to the south and then to the homes that are directly across the street to the west. And at what point now, because catty corner to this property off of Aquarium, that's commercial. And so where do you draw the line? I'm not on the planning commission, you have the hard job of deciding that. But I think that encroachment is something that you do really need to think carefully about. And is there going to be a domino effect continuing? The other thing is that RTC does not fit this. RTC needs to be located in the riverfront sub-area. This is not the riverfront sub-area. Also, it says that RTC has to be able to provide waterfront amenities and riverfront activities. It does not do this. That's not to say that local commercial wouldn't be a good fit, but RTC, it does not meet that definition. I do think it's also important that there's buffering, because that's talked a lot about in the comp plan and through all the years I've been on the, coming to planning commission meetings. And there's literally no buffering. You have commercial bumping right up. And that's why I had put in there the suggestion that something that like multifamily might be a good option because it provides, well, I provided several reasons why I thought that might be a good option, especially for the owner of that property. So I think you have some hard thinking to think about as far as encroachment and buffering, but I do not agree with RTC because they cannot provide waterfront amenities or riverfront activities. If you do feel comfortable doing commercial, I think LC's better fit. Thank you.
Does anyone else wish to speak on this item? Anybody else on item 3? All right, we'll go ahead and close the floor. I thought the same thing when I read that zoning, the first word riverfront. I was like, this isn't riverfront. And I'm not sure that fits this property. I'd like to hear your thoughts of that, or other ways you could potentially see this going, if we're looking residential versus local commercial.
I mean, everything else to the west and the east is, I'm trying to read this, multifamily, right? The brown, it's one page,
Yes, on the
Okay.
land use plan or the zoning.
land use.
Yeah.
So you're already 2 blocks to the west is all multifamily, there's no commercial at all,
Not there.
okay.
There's not.
For me, I think it just makes more sense to work on the comp plan first. And I do think the buffering is important. I thought those were for some very valid points. Same thing on the riverfront. But to me, I think the comp plan needs to fit at least in my mind, before I would consider zoning.
And I would have to agree, since the owner doesn't really have an idea of what they want to do there, so we would be
Yeah,
speculating.
They kind of seem open to the city's direction on this. And it sounds like we maybe have a different direction than what's currently there.
And even when you look at the image, it's already surrounded by RTC with the buildings, the Thrive building and stuff. So it's all part of the RTC except for that one square. But on the other hand, I think that is a valid point about the encroachment and making sure that we have a buffer of some sort between commercial and businesses and the residential areas of some sort.
I don't believe that's all RTC.
Yeah. The Thrive is not,
Not
Marseille.
He's saying that all the zoning is RTC, and that is correct. The land use map is
Gotcha.
not RTC. He is correct, it's all RTC from a zoning. We had originally, I don't know if you all remember this, we had asked for a downtown transition all the way over here. And we removed the portion that was in Sanko, and we removed this portion during the rezoning of all of this. So when we rezoned the downtown core, and we had asked for a transition zone, it's an overlay district, and you could approve an overlay district tonight, and it wouldn't change the comprehensive plan, and it would not change the zoning, because it is uses that are allowed by right. Do y'all remember that little, y'all may not have been here on the, I don't think, it's not, Scott is the only one that was here for that. I could bring it. It was one of the things that I talked to Brandon, and I believe I talked to the applicant about it, that it could go transitional zoning, which just means that you don't change the zoning, you don't amend the comp plan, but it gives you a few extra privileges in that transitional area with, that are by right. So I think it allows, I'll look at my, I should have actually included that in my chart, but I didn't remember. It has its own section in the code. I think it's in 4. It would have been a lot easier if I'd brought the book that had little things on. Okay, so Article 4 of 16 is the overlay district standards, and it has its own setbacks, and it has its own list of permitted uses. And then it also has standards so that it has to look a certain way, so that it's not, so if you're transitioning around other residential, you wouldn't want it to necessarily look like a high-rise building. So by right, so P, which is permitted, and this is table 16-4-2. Duplex would be permitted by right, you wouldn't have to rezone. Residential above the ground floor for a use would be allowed by right. Single-family detached, townhome would be allowed by right, and then accessory buildings. And then conditional uses, if you wanted to put in general retail and it was less than 5,000 square feet, there are some conditions in place where you could put a 5,000 square foot. And a lot of that is like when you're going down, this is not the best example, but when you're driving down 15th Street, where you have the old McMansions there that turned into office buildings, those are probably around 5,000 square feet. So you could do something like that by right. You wouldn't have to go through a rezoning process or amend the comprehensive plan. The idea was that these are areas that are gray. They abut usually commercial on one side, residential on the other, and in order to get the better buffering, you just recommend much smaller. So retail's 5,000 by right. If general services, so a nail salon or medical or dental office, all of those would be conditional uses. So I always tell people that a conditional use is allowed by right with conditions. You'll have to meet all of these benchmarks, but you can do it. So you could do, you could recommend that they go to, we haven't even used it ever. I don't even know, I can't remember what it's called. Hold, please. The actual category is overlay district standards, and it's the downtown transition overlay district. So you could do that without advertising and everything, because it's allows it to stay residential, but it also allows some very small boutique-type commercial. And you have to remember also that people can still purchase this property and maybe purchase all 5, and they can come back and say, hey, we want this comp plan amendment and this zoning, and this is our plan. And then you have a whole thing on the table to consider. It's not, we're not married to it, like, we don't have to, just because you make a recommendation tonight, and even if the council goes with it, it doesn't mean that someone can't come back and say, I love this property, I love the location, and this is what I want to do, and it may be great and amazing, and we may want to do it just exactly like they proposed. But you would get to vote on that. So tonight, you have RTC, which would still require the comp plan amendment to come back if that's the direction you want to go. Or you can certainly go local commercial, which is lower, but would still require a comp plan amendment. Or you could do an office, which would require a comp plan amendment. Or you could do the downtown transition overlay district, and that would not require a rezoning. It would stay residential, and it would not require it wouldn't require anything else. It's just an overlay. And it gives them the flexibility to sell it for some minimal commercial purposes without really potentially bringing in something big and invasive to the neighborhood.
So what about on each side, the homes on each side?
It wouldn't impact them. It's just for these two.
Same overlay?
Nope, just for these two. We can only
Okay,
change
Right.
the two that are advertised.
right, okay. And you're calling that what again? The
It's
overlay?
called downtown transition.
Transition overlay, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
We do have it on the other, further down. It's already been adopted. From Aquarium Place all the way to Beaver, excluding any lot that was in the Cinco subdivision and Pilgrim's addition. So this half, so it's downtown transition overlay is all the way to here, and then it stops. And nothing below the alley and nothing here had the transition overlay, but all of this does. Everything here and everything to the alley here is already in that transition zone.
And then, again, though, if that's something we would do, wouldn't it make more sense to do all 4? I mean,
We can't
Oh, the
rezone them,
properties.
this is a zoning.
Would, but we can't.
We don't have the authority to rezone them.
Until an application's made.
I'm talking about the overlay.
The overlay is a rezoning.
Oh, so it's still going to be,
Yeah.
okay.
We don't have to do anything with the comp plan, it
Okay.
can stay what it is. We can say that on the comp plan, we still recommend, we still would like to see apartments over anything else, and that's fine. It's a recommendation, it's a guide. But the overlay district is an actual zoning district. So we can't touch the other properties. But the nice thing about it is it doesn't mess with the comp plan or with the zoning. It stays RS1 and it stays, the comp plan stays the same. But they have by right some other options commercially, as long as they're small scale.
Because it's not like it's handcuffing the owner.
No. It was definitely one of the early on conversations that we had.
Well, since we do not know what's going to potentially go on that property, and we are essentially trying to help the applicant with future marketing of this property, and with the transition overlay district already being present to the west of this, and not having to alter the comp plan, it seems like the obvious choice. Seems like we can help the applicant and achieve what it is that we'd like to see there as well in the short term, with the potential for changing it in the long term if someone comes in and wants all 5 of those lots, or, so I think I'm in favor of the overlay district at this point.
And I would make a motion to approve it as such.
I'll second.
Now we do. Let's vote, please.
Okay, hang on. My tedious note-taking. Gina?
Yes.
Amy?
Yes. Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Ray?
Yes.
Rob?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, motion carries. That'll take us to agenda item number 5, JZ 24 PUD 127. Major Amendment 1, a request for a major amendment to PUD 127. The general location is 126th and Harvard.
Okay. So on a funny note, Brendan still has to listen to the meeting and get the meeting minutes from my notes. I know, it's not gonna be good. Okay. So this item is JZ 24 PUD 127, Major Amendment Number 1. And this was originally brought to you as Fraser Falls. And you may or may not remember that project. It's been a little bit of time since we have talked about it. So the request before you is to approve a new subdivision layout with kind of an updated amenity package, and to go from, if you approve this, it would go from Fraser Falls to Fraser Meadows, number 3 and number 4, and it would no longer be a private gated subdivision. So originally, what was approved was a private gated subdivision named Fraser Falls, and the applicant is asking to come back with with the following changes. So I made a list on page 95. Let's see here. Totally different colors. Okay, so it's still a single-family subdivision, and it's still north of Fraser Meadows. There's no change in that. There is a change in the site plan, so we'll look at that here in a little bit. They're a little bit different location of the detention. It went from gated private streets to public streets, and then they have their amenity package would be one HOA with for all four subdivisions, Fraser Meadows 1, 2, 3, and 4. We'll go over this, and I'll let the applicant talk to you at length about those changes. The only request that I made was to make sure that if I bought a home in the new number 4, that I didn't have to walk half a mile to go to the swimming pool. I at least had a playground or something in my general neighborhood. That was my biggest request. So no changes. One Oak still has the gas line there. Originally, according to the comprehensive plan, they would be allowed up to 130 homes. And in the original one, I think that they came in around, I thought it was more than that. I think the actual plan was 109. Okay. And right now they're showing 124. So there's a uptick in the number of homes. They will be sharing the pool facility, which has now been enlarged with a larger deck. The houses are starting at 1,500. I'll also let them go through all of this. This stuff here, when it starts talking about price point, the actual home size, and those things, those are not regulated through the Unified Development Ordinance. Those are usually conversations we have because it's a planned unit development, but I don't have any way to enforce them unless it's something written in the PUD. So the city of Jenks cannot enforce private covenants. There were three areas of infrastructure improvement which have been done or are about done. So this is what the UDO says prior to the rezoning. So this came in before we adopted the new zoning code. So they were going originally by the old code for RS2. So I gave you the dimensions of what that looked like. And then we have PUD 127, which was the original approval. And you can see here, this was the lot width. So this whole category is called lot width. And originally, if you had an RS2, you had to have a 75-foot lot. But the reality was, probably 75% of the homes built in Jenks had closer to a 55 to 60-foot lot, even on an RS2 zoning. So when we updated the zoning code, we said, let's right-size the code for what's actually built in the city of Jenks, and that's how we got our dimensions. So the original PUD said 60 to 63 feet. This one is asking for 52% of the lots to be between 50 and 55. And then 48% would be 60 to 63, and with the average lot size of being 55 feet, whereas previously the average lot size was lot width, was 63 feet. And then you have lot area, so that has changed from beginning to the end. The old code, the zoning code said 9,000, PUD 127 says 7,200. This one is asking for 5,000. And the code requires 8,000 for an RS2. So I put all of those details in here for you to compare, and you can contrast those. This is what is in the PUD. So if a building permit came in and there is a house size written into the PUD, the building inspections department cannot approve that building permit unless it meets the requirements of the PUD. Because once you have a planned unit development, it overrides and adds to what the zoning code says. So sometimes they ask for exceptions, and in this case, the exception would be the lot width and lot area, and then in other cases, they're adding their own restrictions, but because they are in the PUD, it's enforceable by the city. So these items are in the PUD and would be enforceable by the city. This is the area. So we are north of 131st. Is that right? Can't even see it. There we go. And here we have, this is, oh dear, Fraser Lakes over here, and this is Fraser Meadows 1 and 2 here. So all this in gray instead of black, this was original notes from the approval process before tonight. And then the traffic conversation, that was all in gray. So this is the original site plan. And this was regulated, I believe had regulations on it, which kind of required that type of development and protection of this lake area. And that is no longer the case. It's not, we don't regulate that, and by we, I mean the federal government and their agencies no longer, this doesn't come under their jurisdiction anymore. So this is the new lot layout. This is the location map. This is the land use map. And I had a few comments in there, but there's not a lot of stuff. This is the actual PUD. Oh, I think this is the button I was looking for. There's all of those standards, the bulk and dimensional standards. Here's that exhibit that we just looked at with the side-by-side. Utilities. This is the location. This is what was advertised for the major amendment. And this is just the same site plan that you've already seen. So It does meet the intent of the comprehensive plan, and it is, you're going from 109 to 124 lots, and they've got the infrastructure as far as utilities, they're good, they're in place, and Mr. Wilmerhauser is here and his consultant if you have any additional questions. We did have a lot of conversations about the amenities. I know it's very important to the citizens of Jenks and to the residents who move here, and making sure that the amenities are equitable to the other neighborhoods was really important and is important to them. And I think Mr. Wilmerhauser has the amenity package in more of a format that kind of shows where everything is, if you would like to hear from him or his consultant.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Hilton. Let's take a 5-minute recess, we'll stretch our legs, and then we'll have discussion about this and hear from the applicant after that.
I do, I believe you do too. My hair is stuck on my dress. Wait, no, it's not. Okay, great. I literally pulled it.
And with questions or comments for Mrs. Hilton on agenda item number 5. Any discussion or questions on item 5?
Probably not so much for her, more so
Applicant?
the applicant.
Okay.
Yeah, not yet.
All right. We will go ahead and open the floor then. If the applicant's present, wish to speak, please come give your name and address, sir, and tell us what you know about this.
My name is Charlie Wimmerhauser, and I live at 12901 South 27th Street in Fraser Lakes.
We're going to duel it today. And you know my name, Robert Bell, 101 East Aquarium Place. Marcia had asked us to get some pictures of some amenities that we did, and that was all emailed to Brandon, and so where's Brandon? So, So I'm just gonna briefly talk some of the changes here, and then I think that some of the neighborhood of Fraser Meadows 1 is here, and I'm gonna let Charlie talk about the amenity packages and how we're gonna make that transition. But I think what's important to realize is what we're doing is changing this from a gated community that was only related to those 109 lots. And in that, when we started this, the idea is that we would have some falls and pretty lakes. And if you look at that picture that Marseille had up with both developments beside each other, you'd notice that only a certain amount of lots went around that lake area and the rest of them did not at that point. What we realized in our process and investigation process is that the homeowners association of that development, if it was created, would have had a very extensive maintenance program because those lakes don't exist. It would have to be done with water features and pumps and electric. And so those neighbors that were in that development would have had to all pitch in to pay for monthly electric bills and maintenance on the water system at that point. It was thought it would be a better scenario to take the monies that would be put to create those lakes and spread that through the developments and increase the amenity package at that point. What I will say is that we are talking about RS2 zone, and we're in compliance with the RS2 zone. I know you've had some discussions about RS3 recently, and that's not the case here. These lots average the 55 foot. What I will say is that any lot that is in the 50s will have a 1,600 to 1,800 square foot house on it. Any lots that's in the 60s will have an 1,800 plus house on it. Minimum house in this development is going to be 300 and probably the average 340, 345,000. The 18s will go up from that at that point. This is a standard size development that we've all come to expect and respect within the city of Jenks at that point. So what we're doing is by removing the lake features through that, we're moving towards there's more lots, but there's under the UDO there was more requirement for roads. The way that's all designed in there, and so by this change, we're increasing the number of lots that's already approved by 15. That's it. So, and we provide a better package, and I'll let Charlie talk about that package.
First of all, the minimum lot will be 6,000 square feet, not 5. They're all 50 by 120. 120 is the minimum depth. And then the minimum is 1,600 square foot in all of the neighborhoods, not 15. We can't build 1,500 square footers. So I'm sorry that we didn't get to get it up on the screen so everybody could see it, but I hope you guys are looking at it. So in Fraser 1, we had the pool already approved. We had to send back through for it, but it's a 40 by 20 pool with an 11-foot sun deck. We've got a 12 by 24-foot pavilion for people to have gatherings. We do have 2 bathrooms and an entrance, and it will be, has to be gated and has to have the child-proof 52-inch tall gate and everything, and it'll all be wrought iron so you can still see through, because it's on the lake, which has turned out to be pretty clear, and it's a pretty nice lake. We've got a lot of nice fish in it already. We bought 100 one-pound bass, and there's already some nice fish in there, so. And then the pickleball courts, we took them away from that area so that maybe in that area, we have some small play sets for the younger, the play set that's in there is for 5 to 12. We've got some for the, newborns, I guess you could say. I don't know how much they play, up to the 5-year age. And they're going down by the pickleball court, and they're also going to the south of where the big play set is now, because they're independent, but I have to have all that graded. Well, we had a little problem with some locations of some meters that we had to put in to get water, because we had to get some water meters in order to sprinkle the pond, sprinkle the dry pond that we put in, and the meter was in the wrong place, and the guy that built that house took our meter and didn't tell us. So we've had to move it, and so we've got all that corrected now. They're now moving the final part. East Central, we got all that corrected, so that will all be done as soon as we can get graded, but we're gonna let the house to the south of us get finished, so their yard can get in, because we have a 50-foot easement there that's part of the walk path that comes to all the play area from throughout the neighborhood, and you don't have Fraser 1 up there, so anyway, that's been increased. We're gonna have a couple swing sets down where the new pickleball courts are gonna be. Instead of 1, we're gonna have 2. There will also be a nice shade pavilion down there, so you can go down and watch down there. We have 5 parking spaces out front, so you'll be able to pull off the street and park there. And then we'll have a little swing set and areas down there. We have a lot of green belt on that lot, so we'll have a lot of grass and green areas, so. And of course, we did put in a nice walk path in Fraser Meadows. It's 1,110 feet, and it walks around the dry pond and into the woods. We weren't allowed to clean up too much of the woods. The Corps wouldn't let us touch the creek that comes out of the pond because it was a blue line. But now we've got permission. We did trunk all the trees up, and we're going to continue to clean up. We've got permission to do that now since the Corps is no longer causing problems with that kind of stuff. So the Fraser the package in Phase 3, I think I don't know which one of you had it now. We've got part of the creek dips into Phase 3. I don't think you can see it on here. I wonder why they did. Oh, yeah, it's on there. See the Reserve C?
Under 4.
Bottom left, over there, the green area, Reserve C. That's about 5 lots, and that creek comes into there about where the S is in Reserve. It comes in like a big arc and goes back out. So we're gonna put a black chain link fence along it so the kids can't get into the creek, but that is gonna become the amenities package. We've got room in there. We're gonna put in a 28 to 30-foot pavilion by 14-foot deep, so you can have a great big picnic or a big family reunion or something like that. We're gonna have a little bit bigger play set. We're gonna put in a sport court. Now, I don't know if it's gonna be a basketball goal or 4 square and some of those other things that kids can use. I'm still not sure about basketball courts inside of these kind of neighborhoods. They work in parks, but in these kind of neighborhoods, I'm not sure. So, but anyway, we're gonna put that in. We're gonna have a nice big greenbelt area with it that's really long. We're gonna put in a couple soccer goals if they want, or we can leave it open where they can play. We're gonna have a place where they can put a cornhole games by the pavilion, so if you're having a picnic, people can do things and play things. Obviously, walkability is really big with everybody. That's why we put all the sidewalks everywhere, and we did the paths. We're gonna have that whole area will come in off the street. It'll have a path that goes kind of near the woods and near the creek where they can walk around and see all that, because everybody likes to see the nature, and it'll come back out onto the street down at the cul-de-sac. So we've got a lot of good walkability things. I am gonna change that lake, though. I'm gonna try, that lake is just about almost an acre size. I like that. but I don't like just having a rectangle lake. So I'm gonna try to change the shape a little bit, and I'm probably gonna take that lot 20 up there by the 4 and turn that into a dry pond, and that way I can have enough. You know, I gotta depend on the engineer's hydrology to tell me what I can do, but we're gonna turn that into a dry pond, and that way I can have that lake not quite as steep a bank so people can walk around and fish, and then we're gonna put a walk path completely around the lake so you can get in and stroll your kids around and do stuff like that. So that's basically what we have planned. Any questions?
On that plan, I'm not understanding where Reserve B is and the
Reserve
pool
B over
area.
there is the pipeline.
Okay,
In Fraser Meadows 1, the engineer left that pipeline in the backyards of those houses. I told him to take it out. So our property line is now going to stop on the left side of that Reserve B. And we're going to put our fence on there instead of having 4 or 5 foot of their backyards have the pipeline in it. I just don't like the homeowners having to do it.
One Oak has been getting a little difficult, and Mark say he's been dealing with them as much as I have, and so
Even
that.
though it is our land, it's not going to be in the development. So I don't want our.
so again, I'm a little unclear. Where is the pool? Where is Reserve
Pool's down in
B?
Fraser Meadows 1.
Okay,
we
so
don't
not
have a-
in
We don't
this.
have one that shows all of 1 and 2 and 3, right?
Okay, so the pool is not part of this particular,
So, and to give you an idea, we're talking about a large area, and it's been a little slow getting started, and a lot of that was dealt with, what we dealt with in regards to the Corps of Engineers and all the changes that we had to go under.
Yeah, if you go over to Yorktown, there's 600 homes that got one pool. Go over to Simmons thing on Sheridan, over there, Addington Place, there are 800 lots that got one pool. So, and it's not very big, so they do have 2 play set areas in one of them. I think there's 2, and then the big soccer field in Yorktown, but they just each have one pool.
I'm just trying to get my bearings of where, how everything is laid out.
So in about 2018, the Corps, 16, 17, somewhere around there, the Corps of Engineers took over and said if you were in a tributary creek to a blue line stream, but, so in that process, we lost about 12 to 15 lots out of phase 1, which that area became the reserve area, where the pool's located at, where the playgrounds are located at, the trail system all the way around, because the creek had to be left alone and not touched. Park benches along that is planned, so that's part of the amenity package now. So in actuality, both of those together helped everybody at that point, so.
Can you show them on this one, Robert, over the screen, where that, the amenities are in Fraser Meadows,
So, in actuality, I'm gonna go back in history a little bit. All this was gonna be piped underground, the stormwater system piped underground, the way we used to do business. The Corps came in and said, you can't touch the above the creek. That created this whole area all the way here as reserve area. So you have walkways that are being constructed with benches and all that. In this whole area through here, that's the reserve. The pool is in this area. And there's an existing kiddie facility, I think it's about a 5-year-older type. There's a smaller one that's smaller age is gonna be put right in front of it. This area right here is where that pickleball court is gonna be located. And then, we're incorporating them, so these people that live in this will have the ability to go to this reserve and have the ability to go to the lake. Same as the people that live here will have the ability to utilize the entire deal. This will keep their homeowner dues, which I think is about $125 a month, something, or a year, something like that. And that's not, that's their business at that point, but I think it'll be the same all the way across.
Yeah, I mean, it gave me a little bit better idea of what were all the other phases.
There's about 8 parking spaces in that area that reserved there where the pool is, that we've already cut in off the street, so there's plenty of parking spaces there. And then there's a sidewalk from there that goes all the way out through that easement where the E is right there on the street, where you come out of that area, that's a big 50-foot wide sidewalk that we've put in all the way around to the play area. And it'll eventually be hooked into the pool once it's all done, and the pavilion. So, which is starting in November 1st. We got the permit finally.
And that's what I was gonna say is that the pool, we got the permit from the state to move that forward now, so that'll,
Because we have residents here, the dues are anticipated to be $125 per quarter.
Okay. Okay.
I had half of it, right?
You had a quarter of it, right?
Any other questions?
All right, thank you, Charlie and Robert. Appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone from the audience wish to speak on behalf of agenda item number 5? Yes, sir.
Jeff Smith, 2041 East 129th Street, Fraser Meadows 1. So I think my concern and a lot of our concern is why are we changing in the first place? You know, we're going to add more homes to that traffic already. Then you're talking about sharing the amenities from phase 3 down to phase 2 or 1, where now is going to be a bunch of homes. First of all, I don't even know who's the builder on these, because right now the Schuber Mitchell is the builder in phase 2 or phase 1. And, you know, we were told originally certain style of home, and I know that that's hearsay, and I know there's talks about that, but the type of homes that are going in our neighborhood were not the ones that we were promised, which I know that we can't change that once lots are sold. However, we are concerned about the value of our home. And with this being said, we originally were told that the homes in phase 4 or phase 3 would face north off of 128th Street. That they would face north. The backyard would be, the view would be phase, you know, those homes right there off 128th, they would see the backyard of those homes from phase 4 or 3, sorry. There, yeah. So now we're gonna add an entrance for both of those off of 100 or off of 21st Street. It looks like we're gonna add an entrance into phase 3 and off of that cul-de-sac on the far left, which they're not here tonight, but you know, that's probably one of the biggest houses in the neighborhood, and now they're gonna be stuck with the view of these homes. You know, this is my first deal. All I'm here to do is protect my neighborhood, my value of my house. I don't know why the reason why we have to go to a style of these kind of homes, a smaller addition. I am concerned about the amenities in the pool, because if they're gonna increase the pool size, to me, I don't know where it's gonna back up to, if it's gonna be on top of the guy's yard that's right next door to the pool, because there is a house right there. So I just don't, it's hard to see because we haven't seen plans of the pool other than a sign that's where it should have been, where it's been for the last 6 months. I mean, I'm concerned about the traffic and the amount of cars. I'm concerned about just the value of our homes. You know, we already have developer or builders in our neighborhood, Jay Davis being one of them, that has told us that they're putting a hold on some of their lots that they have in there due to the fact of these new style homes being built in our neighborhood. So. That's kind of all I have. I really don't know a lot about all this, but I just wanted to come and tell my opinion.
Thank you, Jeff. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Chairman West, Justin Little, 10531 South Coa, Jenks. A couple things that I just had by looking at this, and obviously you guys have some different plans, but just as a reminder, I think it was a couple of months ago, we had some folks, and the guy was from Norman, that was building houses about probably a mile from here that were smaller houses. So when I look at these plans, and when it went before city council obviously voted it down because it didn't fit with the homes that were going to be in this area. So whenever I look at this, and I kind of, as I read through the information, the original plan was for $300,000 or $400,000 home, or $350,000 to $400,000 homes. We're shrinking those homes down to 1,600 square feet. So they'll be obviously smaller, which will be less. So it's almost like we're running into the exact same situation, or very similar situation, to where we were just a month or a couple months ago. And where I know this body approved it, but city council obviously didn't. And so when we start doing that, one of the reasons city council gave for that was to protect the values of the homes in those areas and overall in Jenks. So when we start talking about this, I think it'd be very difficult to build a 1,600 square foot house. And I think you put it in the comments that I talked about, $250,000 house was a starter house. That was a really expensive one. I think you had put something in the comment section, or maybe Brandon did, that I'd made that comment, because that was, to me, $250,000 when I was 22 years old was a lot of money. I think we're going to be running into the same situation here. And so thinking about what council's past decision was, just here recently was something very similar. I think that needs to be something you guys think about as you go and make this decision.
Thank you, Justin.
Aaron Ferris, 2120 East 128th Place, South. I think my biggest concern would be the value of the home. So we actually back right up to this development. Our house is actually right here. And all the houses along our street, they're all pushing $500,000. And then the houses that are going in now by Schubler and Mitchell, they weren't meeting the requirements already put in place by the original build plans. And again, I know that's hearsay, but with this new proposal, like the gentleman before me was saying, they're getting smaller. And I know that they state a range of, it's going to be anywhere from $315,000 to $400,000 house. Just the simple fact of the matter is, what's happening now is that range that's being thrown out there, the bare minimum is being met on that. And so our biggest concern is like buying a $500,000 house and then $300,000 houses being put around it. And then in 5-6 years, this was supposed to be our forever home. And then after this development's done, the value of our house dropping because they wanted to come in and put more and smaller houses in place than what were originally planned. And then also getting rid of the gated community. That was a big selling point on us, is we're going to be in a gated community, and now that's being taken away. And then as far as the amenities go, from my understanding, they're not putting any amenities in the new addition, and they're all going to be expected to come over. And I mean, just to me, that doesn't really quite make sense. And then as far as like the amenities that were proposed originally, we really haven't seen really much of anything. And I know it's still in the development phase, but just it seems to be a lot of, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and that really isn't happening. So from my perspective, and then putting the roads in our neighborhood, and then also, again, like facing the direction of the houses, like they were supposed to face north, now they're gonna be facing south. So I mean, there's quite a few concerns, that I have, and I know we've spoke with, the majority of our neighbors, and they're, from anybody that I've spoke with, they're all in agreement and they all share the same concerns. So, that's what I would say. And again, like, this is my first city council meeting that I've been to.
We're glad you're here. I've got a couple things. What I'm seeing is that there are multiple amenities in the new development as well that will be shared between the two. It's unfortunate we don't have that picture for you. We do have their artist rendering here of a playground area, a sport court, walking trails around the, so there are some shared amenities, whether they're comparable to what you currently have. I understand your concern about that. I've got a question. We hear this all the time, and this is a real question. You talk about a smaller, somewhat smaller, whether it's 20%, 10%, 30% smaller home size in an adjacent piece of property or an adjacent development, decreasing the value of your home. Why do you think that happens? Why do you think that would happen?
Because when people come in, realtors come in and do comps, they comp around the houses surrounding you. And I've got a few different realtor friends, and I've got one of my friends that I spoke with that owns a lending company, Supreme Lending, and I asked him specifically about this, and he said, yes, like 5-10 years from now, the original proposal versus the other proposal, the value of your home would not be the same. Not to say that it would drop, but like, let's say 5 years from now, with Plan A, it would go for another 25,000 versus Plan B, it's gonna kind of sit where you're at, so to speak.
Okay. If those comp sales are on square footage, if your square footage is more than the other, is that not allowed for in that? I know we've got some people more familiar with that. If you want to talk about that as well, Amy.
Yeah, I mean, kind of the.
Because we hear that
whole-
on every edition that we've done in the last 20 years. It's all, it's home values and property values. If you want to address that, I'd love for you to.
Well, I mean, kind of going back to the old adage, you never want to be the largest house on the block. For that reason, it does drive down the cost per square foot. How much just really depends on a lot of dynamics and the amenities and the upkeep and whether the homeowners association is very involved and they have a nice, clean environment. It's possible it could drive it down a little bit on a smaller valued home. But it's a little hard to say without, all the dynamics in there, but it's possible both ways.
So there's a lot of
where it drives
variables
the-
that go into that, home size being one of those variables.
Right.
That potentially could affect it. Okay,
Right.
great.
What are the,
Thank you, Aaron.
in your addition, what are the square footage of the homes? What are they?
Ours is close to 3,000. I think it's like
Yeah.
28 and some change. The ones that are going in right now, that are currently not meeting the current requirements are like 17. And I think originally they were supposed to be 19. And so that was another concern of like, it was originally supposed to be 19 and they're doing 17. So it's kind of like we're being told one thing, that something else is happening. So it's like, how much do you really believe of, hey, this is our plan, moving forward? That was another concern.
You had mentioned the gated. Are you saying that your current neighborhood is gated?
Not currently right now, but it's supposed to be.
Okay.
It's still in development. I would say there's like 50% of the homes are built right
Okay.
now. So they haven't put it up yet. But yes, it's supposed to be.
Okay.
And they're-
Marseille, do we know if that phase was gated?
It was never gated.
Okay. That was a misunderstanding.
No,
I was just curious what.
if it were
what the-
gated, it would be gated from day one because
Okay.
they are private streets, not public streets. And so the developer takes ownership of the streets from from the time that they are built. We inspect them as a city, but they are never our streets. They are always the developer and then the HOA's responsibility. So, number one and number two were never intended to be gated, and the PUD supports that.
Okay,
That approved PUD, not this one.
all right. That makes sense.
Wouldn't this, the people buying these homes be your natural people that would buy your homes when you're ready to sell because they wanted to upgrade?
Good question, I'm not sure.
I mean, they want to stay in the same area, but they just want a bigger house. It could
I've
be
never
a,
done that myself, but.
That's all, yeah, that's just all market driven. We have no idea what
Yeah.
direction that's
I
gonna go.
did. I mean, yeah, I went from a smaller house to a bigger house in the same square mile.
Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron.
Hello.
Hello.
Catherine Linhart, 777 West 106th Street South. Oh, dang it. Okay, I just have some questions. What is the average homeowner association cost in Jenks? Does anybody know? So we have a barometer on.
I have no clue.
Kind of the 125
Mine is
number.
0. I don't know.
Mine is 0. Okay. Also, is it due to the smaller size that rentals are a concern? Do we have any information on that? Is that what you guys?
Well, I think that's based on the HOA and the covenants for that. So I don't know that you can say that's necessarily a concern without knowing what those,
That's a good
what
point.
those are set at.
Okay, so I'm going to put that down. Where are the mailboxes located? Isn't that a new requirement by the government or something like that?
There's a federal mandate for the placement of mailboxes. It's not shown on this diagram. It's too preliminary.
Okay. And then when it goes from private to public streets, what new expenses are then absorbed by the city? Are there development impact fees that are now greater than you anticipated from it going from private to public? Are there more expenses for the city? And can the builder or the developer absorb those fees?
The city of Jenks does not have development fees, impact fees at this time for street infrastructure.
Okay. And my last little kind of housekeeping note is it possible, I know we can get it on INCOG, but not everybody knows how to work INCOG. Is there a way to update the subdivision map that's provided online on the Jenks website? I think it's from 2020 or 2021.
It's a
And we've had
PDF.
Yeah, there's been a ton of growth, and I think it would be great that people have an easy-to-find subdivision map available.
Yeah, it's possible. I just need to call INCOG and request it. I've had it
Yay,
on my
okay,
list of
thanks.
things to do for about 6 months, maybe a year.
Okay, so I'll put a little reminder on there for March to start.
Maybe we can get it before Christmas. It'll be a little Christmas present for the city of Jenks.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Kat. Yes, sir, that'd be great.
Call
I'm
INCOG.
Bob Smith. I gotta read my address because I just bought this house. And you guys have long addresses here. 12884 South 21st Place East. I don't know if I live in Bixby or Jenks. Tells me. So, this is the second home for me and my wife. We have family here in Tulsa. We live in St. Louis. We come over every few weeks. I'm the guy that lives next to the proposed pool site. Very nice home. At the time I bought the house, I thought I had the smallest house in the development, 1,996 square feet. As I said, the ones across the street, significantly smaller than that. My question is, I understood that was going to be a gated community. Was that the original?
That's why we're having a public hearing.
What's that?
That's why we're having a public hearing. That is correct.
Okay. And it's going from 109 lots to 125, is that right?
124 is
24,
proposed.
so 15 more? Have you been out? Have you guys seen Fraser Meadows 1, where the pool is and stuff, or where the pool's gonna be? No person in their right mind would think that site could support 109 new swimmers, even if there was just one person living in those houses. That's a very small lot. Like I say, I'm the guy that's got the electrical in my backyard. And he's right, they are working on it right now. I saw him this morning. But I want to try to better understand, what are the amenities in the new development? The lakes and some sidewalks?
It has playgrounds and other things too.
Have you seen the playground in Fraser Meadows 1?
Not recently.
I don't know, I could probably fit it right here. It's little teeny tiny thing. It's pretty small. My biggest concern is, was that a serious question? That homes that sell for $340, you don't think they'll affect the cost of homes that sold for $499 or $500,000? When you have the streets coming into the same development? I don't know that the pool size right now could support Fraser Meadows 1. Nobody in their right mind would think it could support that. It just doesn't have the site, just having the physical space. The pond, the lake, the water feature, it's very nice. I'm perplexed, and I've lived all over the country. I think this is the 13th home my wife and I have purchased. I've never seen where people could build smaller square footage homes than what was stated originally.
Where are you seeing it stated originally?
I pulled up the covenants when I was looking at it. It talked about lot size, home size, things like that. So the lots themselves, I think mine is 60 by 125. I believe the home's 50 foot wide. So 5 foot setback on each side. I think it said 15 or 25 feet for the backyard, maybe something similar in the front yard. I don't see how you could shrink the lots much more. We're looking at lots that are going to be 50 feet wide now? Is that what they were proposed? I heard 53 feet, something like that.
It's up here.
Yeah, the average is 55. 48% of them are larger than, or 60 or
And
larger.
so I assume they'll have a 5 foot setback too, or maybe a 0 setback.
It's
I don't
5
know.
and 5.
So is there a staff report been prepared for this? And that's recommending to proceed with this?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So this decision, for the most part, has already been made.
That's pretty offensive, sir. This is the first time we saw it was Tuesday night. Our decision has not been made. No, sir.
All right.
Why would you say that?
Well, I can just tell. I'm a fairly observant guy, and I've worked a lot of places. I can just tell the interaction between the developer and the board. Nobody in their right mind would think Fraser Meadows 1 and that pool and that site could support another 124 families. No reasonable person, if you just went out there and looked at it. I mean, it's just, if you turn the lake into a pool, you might be able to, but there's no way that site would do that.
Okay,
I
we
walk by every
understand your
day.
point on that. Thank
Yeah.
you. Anything else?
Oh, once again, was that a serious question that you don't think homes that sell for
I didn't say that. I asked how it worked.
basic economics?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Lori Anderson, and I'm not going to be able to do the address. I was practicing back there. Let me think. 12902 South 20th Place East, Jenks, Fraser Meadows 1. So I don't know my address because we haven't moved in yet because we're still building. So what I would like to share is we live at the bottom, right underneath where the new proposal is going to be. So it does, our property does not meet up to it, but we're on the other side of the dry pond, the green space, whatever you'd like to call it. We built our house when we are done, Lord willing, in 4 more weeks. 2,900 square foot total. We did that on purpose because we looked at the houses in the development that when we were planning this, and that old adage, you don't want to be the largest, you don't want to be the smallest, but we did want to be at the top end of it on purpose, deliberately, because we wanted a home, our forever home, But we also wanted something that was going to appreciate and definitely not depreciate in value. With bringing in homes that are that much smaller, my concern, and taking away the gated community, the whole aspect of that was Fraser, what was it called? Falls. Fraser Falls was supposed to be the upgrade from ours. And so now to walk that back and make it even lesser value homes perhaps, smaller square footage, smaller lot size is financially going to affect the homes in our adjoining neighborhood. Because when real estate agents come through and they do those comps, they're gonna pull comps within a certain radius. So they're gonna pull homes in a certain radius around my home, that's 2,900 square foot, and now there's not gonna be those in that area. So what they're gonna tell me, and I just sold my last home in March, and he walked me through that whole process, because I had never understood any of that. And so there's gonna be fewer homes. So what would have been maybe 80 homes my size, I don't know what they were gonna build over there, you know, none of us know for sure, now is not gonna be but maybe 2 or 3 homes that are gonna be that large, because they're gonna make the lots smaller, so the houses have to accommodate the lots, which is going to, in the long term, affect the home, which in our personal life is our children's inheritance. So we put all of our monies out of stocks and bonds and all that junk into this home. And so we just don't want to see that go down. We wanted to see it go up and increase, as everybody does with their home. So I do have a concern with the possibility, and I don't know how it works legally, so maybe it's a false concern, but I do have the concern of the smaller houses, like I think you were saying, people upgrade and move. A lot of people upgrade and move and rent out their house. And then the neighborhood changes. And I'm not trying to be derogatory, but that is generally what happens. I can look at all different neighborhoods in Broken Arrow and in Tulsa area where over time, it's been more rentals, houses that were owned become rentals. And you can drive down a street and tell which one's a rental and which one's owned just by how it's taken care of and stuff like that. That, again, is going to have a huge impact in our neighborhood. It's going to have a huge impact in Fraser Meadows, too, and in whatever comes in the future. And so I would just like you guys to consider the people who are there now and what we've invested, and that we just want to protect what we've invested. We don't want to keep people out, you know, we just want to protect what we have, because for some of us, it's our whole life savings put into this. So, thank you for your time.
Question for you, ma'am.
Yeah.
So when you made the decision to build your home, what did you see? What were you shown for these other divisions that were coming in?
I wasn't shown anything per se. I was told that that was going to be a more upscale community. The homes were going to be well over 500,000, and you could even, you know, build and maybe one day upgrade over to there, you know, which we said, no, we don't want to ever build again. This is a lot of work. But so we weren't actually shown anything on paper or any plan of that.
Okay.
It was all just verbal stuff.
Okay, thank you.
And who was it that told you that?
That would have been Charlie when he sold us the property. So we walked the property together and talked about the options over there. Because it's our view. I mean, you look out, our whole house, main view goes to the green space, and behind the green space is the new neighborhood. And so, you know, obviously that is going to impact, regardless what they do, what our home is and our life will be like in the future.
Okay. And by Charlie, you mean tonight's applicant?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Is that all?
Marseille, do we know when this first plan was originally approved?
I believe it was 2020. I just looked at it. Let me see.
Okay.
2019. And the minimum lot, or the minimum house size was 1,800 square feet is what is enforceable by the city in Fraser Meadows.
1,800's minimum required. And in the new one, 16.
So where's
they
this
said 16.
2,200?
1,600.
This, how does that come into play?
That was Fraser Falls, when it was gonna be a gated subdivision with 109 lots. The original, minimum house size was 2,200. But
The-
what was approved for Fraser Meadows is 1,800 minimum square feet.
Okay. But okay. But the original, going back in 2020,
To Fraser Falls, to these two
to this.
pictures?
Yeah,
So on
to
the
this right
left-
here.
On the left, originally this was 2,200 square
That's-
feet minimum with 109 lots. Now they're asking for 1,600, 300
Right.
square feet less, so,
But in 2020, it was approved at the 2,200.
yes.
Thank you.
But not Fraser Meadows, because that keeps coming up, of the minimum house size in Fraser Meadows. And the minimum house size in Fraser Meadows 1 is 1,800 square feet.
Okay.
Still today,
Thank you.
In the PUD, it says 18.
still today, like.
We have a copy of the PUD.
I'm just
not
strictly
on the agenda,
looking at
so
this
we'll-
one. I'm just strictly looking at the one that we're approving for
For tonight,
tonight.
and we won't talk about Fraser
It was
Meadows anymore.
2020, and it was 2,200.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm. And that's on page 96 of the agenda.
Yes, sir.
evening.
Would you like to speak?
Glasscock, I'm sorry. I'm new to this. I live on 12922 South 20th Place.
What was your name again, sir?
Josh Glasscock.
Josh, thank you.
I live at the entryway of the other side of one. I bought the very first house in Fraser Meadows, okay? The very first one that was sold. I bought it a year and 3 months ago. We were told that it was a 400-plus community when we bought it. I mean, signing the agreement, they wouldn't let us take anything less. This is from the builder in Charlotte. He said they would not take anything less than 400. I was out of the Marine Corps, fresh out of the military. I work in a body shop. I worked really hard for this. I bought this as my starter home, as my forever home. This is, the way it's going is not right. The pool alone is 12 foot long. You're gonna tell me you're gonna bring 30 other neighborhoods into this? I have a kid coming in February, and that play set, the concrete is like 2 feet away from the swing set. There's no way, is it safe? Have those been, like, any standards set on that? The size of it is literally, like they said, this whole thing could fit right here in front of you. The amenities, everything we've been promised is not what was initially told to us. Those changes, we were not informed. No one's told us anything. These HOA fees of $150 they're talking about, is that correct, Charlie? Where does that money go to? Our pond, I'm the only person that fishes it. I fish it still. Fish are this big. That water you cannot see. It is brown, brown, brown. The grass is dirty. The construction workers, they have trashed that whole area. Someone comes in trying to buy a house, they're gonna see it. It's not a nice neighborhood, like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
You're fine. If you could, keep your comments on the item that's on the agenda, which is the new development.
You're right.
Thank you. We do appreciate your concerns
My
for,
concern is the development that they're trying to get approved now. How are we gonna believe this now if they can't even follow the first? These zones that they have are not what they promised first. There's, how many people here, this whole side lives in this neighborhood? That ought to tell you something. I don't know what else to say. Like I said, I work at a body shop. This is my life.
thank you, Josh.
That man does not care.
Charlotte Montgomery, 10612 South Fir Avenue. And I think this is a question and a suggestion for the developer. My question is regarding rentals, and a lot of concern in recent applications about the sizes of the lots and the homes and how they're subject to rentals, isn't it possible through the deed of dedication, the covenants, for current HOAs, like one I live in, can they not, isn't there provisions that are put in there that they can amend their covenants to include language about limiting short-term rentals?
Yes, and we generally recommend that they make sure that they have a clear path forward for their subdivision regarding short-term rentals and regarding rentals in general. And the other thing is usually accessory dwelling units, making sure, those are like 2 to 3 things that we try to bring up because they are hot item topics right now for subdivisions, and existing HOAs are really struggling with those conversations and how to move forward and the enforcement of them. Unless something is in the PUD, the city can't enforce it. So, but they can put it in their own private covenants. I think that there's a lot of challenges with HOAs in enforcing their private covenants, so that is also a problem. But there are attorneys out there that represent HOAs exclusively, so you definitely have paths to move forward. It's just can be kind of cumbersome. But you absolutely can put those restrictions into an HOA if that's what the vote of the membership wants.
Because this has not been developed at this, I still call it Fraser Falls, since that has not been developed, so the developer has at his discretion right now to add that into the covenants, right? Some language that would make some of the neighbors feel better about possibilities of these becoming rentals, correct? He could add that in. That would just be a suggestion that he maybe could make a commitment, and that would alleviate at least one small concern that they have about smaller homes and smaller lots.
I don't know, and the developer could probably answer this. I don't know at what point they finalize their HOA covenants. I don't know if they're finalized. I don't know. They would just have to answer that. I'm not sure. But certainly that could be a suggestion to any developer.
That's what I would suggest. That might alleviate some small part of the concerns.
Thank you.
Thank you, Charlotte. Anyone else? Yeah, you will in a moment. Not right now.
My name's Jennifer Nitz. I live at 12548 South Geary. We live directly north across 126th Street from the new development. And I do concur with him about the values, a little bit, scared about that. Everything north of there, those homes are $1.5 million homes. And we are right on that edge. But one of my biggest concerns is, since we have that road there, that little dinky little road, it's beautiful, but it's also dangerous. What does the developer have in mind for wall or something, or any kind of buffer behind those houses that are going to border 126th Street? Is what I was kind of curious. Is there going to be a wall, or their backyards are just going to be open to the road, or?
Screening?
I guess, whatever the formal
Okay.
term is for that.
I'll let the developer answer that.
Okay. And then, is there any plans for the infrastructure for that road, or any of the roads around there?
The city has already taken steps previously. When they did Fraser Meadows 1, they went ahead and the city worked with the developer, and they cut that corner so there was better visibility when you're going around the curve there, and put in stop signs, and I don't remember what else has been done, but just adding more signage and cutting the actual sight line so that there's better visibility. I think originally when we made those changes, the police department went out and was a little more present in that area, because I think a lot of times people say, well, you can put up a stop sign, but people don't stop. Well, that's an enforcement issue. We can't force people to stop at a stop sign. But Other than that, I think that's the biggest improvements that have been made. And I can't remember anything else. I think that's pretty well it.
Okay. Well, I hardly ever see the Jenks police out there, just so you know.
You can always call and request them to come
And we
out.
have, because usually after work, it's the raceway. You know, you can actually hear them just gunning it to the stop sign. But that's.
Now they can see real good, so they just keep going.
Who's coming? So yes, that was one of our concerns, because our property does butt that road. And we do walk our dog currently in the green area now, which is no longer going to be the green area. But as far as the rental and stuff around there and the smaller houses, all you have to do is look at Falcon Ridge and see what that neighborhood's going to look like, see what its future's going to look like, because it's very, very similar to Falcon Ridge, and there's a ton of rentals in that neighborhood, and it's just not quite the same as it used to be when my kids were little. But anyway, that's my piece on that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. Anyone else? Anyone else in the audience wish to speak? All right, we'll go ahead and have the applicant come back up, please, and address, we've got quite a list of concerns.
You want me to say my address again and name?
No, we haven't, thank you.
First of all, I mean, this doesn't really, I guess, make any difference, but I've been building for 54 years. I'm 76 years old. I don't do things that aren't nice. And I did Hyde Park, if you guys all know Hyde Park. I did Elm Ridge. I did several developments. I did Audubon Park and Audubon Village over on Memorial. So I understand this industry. In Fraser Lake Estates, I have $400,000 houses, and I have $500,000 houses. So the different pricing within a neighborhood does not necessarily affect the downstream price of a house. Secondly, I know what I sold all the builders that built your houses for the lots, and I sold Schubert Mitchell higher price than them, than what they paid. So Schubert Mitchell's houses are listed right at $195 to $200 a square foot. I doubt any of them paid $200 a square foot or much more than $200 a square foot. So they're not downgrading the price. It's like she said, it's the comps of the neighborhood that determine what's going to go on. And if we maintain that neighborhood, keep it looking good, make sure the amenities stay good, hopefully everybody takes care of their yards, that neighborhood is going to, the values are going to be good everywhere. In Elm Ridge, I did 35 lots. It's one street in. I did houses that were 1,800 square feet, and I did houses that were 3,600 square feet. And all of them, you can look them up on Zillow, have sold way higher than what I sold them for. They're all going up, and they're in a neighborhood that you've got 1,500 to 1,800 square foot difference in houses. So it doesn't really affect, I know they think it does, as long as I didn't sell them those lots at a big discounted price, and they're building for 150 a foot, then yes, that could downturn their values, and I don't want to see that happen to them. That's not what I want to happen. I think their houses will continue to go up as long as we can maintain the amenities, maintain the development, keep it mowed. And I understand there is some trash around. I'm even out there picking it up myself almost every day. But you're in a construction zone, and unfortunately, it's going to happen, and it can't be monitored on a daily basis, unfortunately. So I really apologize about that. As far as the lady was concerned about the fence, it will be a wooden fence with stone columns about every third or fourth probably about every second property line. And the city owns a 100-foot right-of-way there, so we are 50 foot off of the street. So there'll be a great big buffer area there around that street, okay? So that'll all be buffered, and we'll have to tear all that grass. Fortunately, we'll get rid of all those trees and stuff in that old fence there. And well, you've got a lot of small trees on that side, though. So I'm going to take some trees out on your side, too. You know I'm putting in a water line for you guys. So you have better water pressure, a few. So. Anyway, so the city's asked me to go ahead.
Charlie, just address us, please.
Anyway, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
So I just wanted you guys to know I'm not doing anything, and I didn't know that Schubert was going to build quite that small, but they did it on the empty nester lots, those 55-foot wide lots. I built 4 of those houses, and mine are only 1,980 to 2,000 square feet. And I've got them listed at 385 and 425. The original sign that was there for 4 years said homes from 350. It's always been that, homes from 350. And they've got a couple lost leader ones in that 320, 330 range, but they're mostly 340 and up. They're building some 3 cars now that are going to be in that 380 to 400 range. I've already seen the plans in the new neighborhood. They've got houses all the way up to 440. So it's not going to downgrade anything. I do agree with the rental thing, and we'll do all we can to see what goes on with that. So, but it's really going to come down to the homeowners maintaining their lots and keeping everything looking neat, and it doesn't become, I'm not sure where Falcon Ridge is. Is that the one over by Auberge? Okay. Oh, okay, okay. You're right. 3/4 of them are done pretty well, but some of them are not, yeah. Anyway, so that's basically what I wanted to say. I don't think we're gonna hurt as long as the comps are in that 200 range, they're gonna stay up, so. Yeah, per square foot.
And I think it's important to note that the development that had problems, one gentleman stood up and said, are we heading in the same direction as that other one? And that's the one that was going in at 141st or 131st on the southeast side. That application was started with 30-foot lots and 1,000 square foot homes. It's not apples and apples.
No,
Well,
30-foot lots, and you guys are averaging 55, so
what
it's
we're
not very
putting in
similar.
is
It may be slightly similar.
What we're putting in is it's not gated, it's not larger to the 24, but it's the same product that is in phase 1 and 2 already.
And if the people would go around and look at all the neighborhoods, Yorktown's pool is not any bigger than ours, and they have 600 homes. We're gonna have 240.
So what covenants are you willing to put in to give comfort that?
On the rental side?
Well, just that whole neighborhood, what kind of covenants are you willing to take?
It says in there, I believe, I don't know the number exactly, it might be 7 and 4, I don't know, but it says that the houses have to be maintained, you have to have sprinkler systems, which Huber Mitchell put a sprinkler system in, you have to keep the yards mowed, and you have to keep the places weeded. It says it in the covenants, that that's required. We do not address the rentals. Unfortunately, you know, I've seen all the high interest rates and all the low stuff and everything that's gone on for 50 years. Some people get in trouble, they have to rent a house, otherwise they lose it. And that just happens, and I don't know that I could restrict that from somebody and cause them to have a big problem or a major financial problem if it had to happen with these high interest rates. That's why you're seeing a lot of rentals. Plus, there is nothing to rent, so people are taking advantage of it and they're renting houses, so.
So will each neighborhood have their own homeowners association, or will
No,
it be
it's all
one?
one, it'll all be one.
Okay,
That way
so
we-
then they can have a chance to enforce those rules.
Right, and that way everybody lives under the same guidelines, and hopefully, once we get the homeowner association up, it takes about 66% of the lots, houses sold, or at least residents, so we can do that. But, you know, I just don't think their values are gonna go down. There's too much demand for housing, and if we can get a few more drops in interest rate, I don't know if anybody experienced it 4 years ago, we were getting offers higher than what we were asking for houses, and getting 20 offers.
So they're your future officers of the homeowners association.
Yeah, right there, that's right. But it's always, the sign always said 350, I've never talked to anybody about 400,000. I said most of the houses are gonna be around 400 to many people, just because of, if you buy a 75,000-foot house, and usually it's 5 to 1 is the formula a builder uses to build, whatever the lot price, you multiply it by 5, that's the kind of house makes it kind of equitable, so, thank you.
I've got some additional questions that were brought up for you, please. Couple people brought up a question about the direction that homes face around the 128th Street. Can you address that? I didn't understand what they were asking.
So, just so everybody knows,
Oh, those ones down below, you mean?
this was the old approved, this is approved, this is where we go right now.
And they face down, yeah.
These streets, these houses face 128th Street, or face this area towards phase 1. This still exists, it's the same, there's not a lot of difference between what these two are.
Well, what's wrong with facing your neighbor?
And so, these lots that are in phase probably been fencing in the back of this to separate those two. This is the street that exists right now, that people are living across the street from. These lots were always gonna face that street. This is a public road and it can't be gated because it's public.
How many lots did you add to that street?
None. No ads.
Robert?
All right, thank you, Mr. Bell. Another question, that's home direction again. We heard multiple times that homes were being built in Fraser 1 that were under the minimum square footage. Do you know if any of that has occurred? We looked it up, 1,800 square feet is the minimum square footage.
I thought it said
Fraser one.
1,600 on block 4. It does.
So,
And that's the ones that are on block 4.
1,604.
That's the empty nesters where I built. We
Okay.
did those purposes smaller. That's
Okay,
what
so
I
there are a
did.
few.
That's what I did in Hyde Park. I did a lot of 1,500 footers in Hyde Park, and that's where that was.
Okay,
so we
thank
came
you.
back with a PUD
We got it,
amendment
we got it.
Robert.
We got it, Robert.
Got it. Yeah. But I want to answer everybody's question.
What amenities are on what were previously approved? Do we have any of that information?
From phase 1,
Yeah, the left box
Exhibit
here.
B, what
Exhibit
was
B.
previously approved, what amenities were on that?
That's on page 95.
Thank you. That's the new plan.
It's the
Am I looking
original
right at
and the
it?
new plan. It's the comparison there.
You mean the one?
Just can't tell what
You
was.
talk about Fraser
Oh, that's,
Falls? There weren't any amenities because of all the ponds and the waterfalls that we were having.
I just
put
see
in by
that,
the
that
Corps.
reserve.
So the amenity was the natural water feature.
Right.
Okay.
All the natural water features, yes.
But did you say earlier, though, that the core, you didn't have to do those?
We don't have to do that anymore.
So was there consideration, if
said
you didn't
it's-
have to do it anymore, consideration to do these amenities in that
Okay, let's see.
area?
Walking trails, waterfalls, pickleball court, and dry detention area is what was on the previous. Sorry, I missed that.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
What about the concerns that they had with regards to the pool being able to handle additional homes as well as just the size of the play areas?
Okay, go to all those neighborhoods I mentioned, Addison, all of them, the pools are all the same size. They've got 500 and 600 homes. We're only going to have 200. Yorktown has 600 residents, and their pool's the same size as ours.
12 foot,
It's not 12, it's 40 by 20,
40 by 20?
with an 11-foot sun pad, so.
They're shaking their heads that it's not 40 by 20 over there.
there's no pool there.
This doesn't exist
Well,
yet.
Okay.
From the parking to the lake is 87 feet.
Charlie,
And the
there
area for the pool is 123 feet.
there was also,
And the pavilion, and the play set, and the other play sets, and the other swing set, and the benches that are coming. They're all here, we just haven't put them together. Sorry. You want to ask
That's
something? Okay. Anything else, Scott?
I don't believe so. Any other questions for Charlie?
So just to clarify, currently in 4, the smallest square foot house, possibility is 1,600 square foot. So you can already build a 1,600 square foot lot in one of the 4 divisions. Is that what I heard you say? Okay.
We did some empty nesters when the city, not you guys, when we found those pipelines going underneath at the diagonal in the neighborhood, we had to move the street over. The city asked that we already had lots scheduled over the top of them with houses be able to be on top of those lines that go through for the city of Glenpool, the discharge line and the 2 abandoned lines. So we moved over 20 feet. That's when we lost all the lots, and that's where we ended up with those little skinny lots right there. And so we made them, I took my Hyde Park plans and I designed them, changed them up a little bit, and then we put those 50-foot wide by 130-foot deep lots, nice deep. And so we could build these little, 40 by 60 houses. And they're all only 2-car. They can't have a 3-car. It's not wide enough, so. And that's why we did that. Yes, that's the street right there. We moved, you can see how long those lots to the north of them are. That's because we moved over 40 feet. And we lost all that. So when we lost all that, I was still trying to get some lots out of it. And so I decided I'd do some hard life, because I have, at my age, I have tons of people ask me if I've got any more empty nester houses, because I did Hyde Park. It's pretty much full. And I don't have any place. There's no place for the people over 55 to go. 22% of the population is over 55, and we only have 3% housing of the housing. That's all.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it.
All right. All right, back to commissioners. Any further discussion? What do you guys think about this?
I just have some comments. When I look at these types of things, I always have kind of my initial thoughts. Just personal preference. I don't prefer the straight streets. I think they end up being raceways. I like the more curved appeal. I think it's much more attractive and creates a much better feel. Again, personal preference. But to the gentleman back there, that's why we have the public hearing, is so I can hear what people have to say, so I can hear the other commissioners, so I can listen to Marseille. I never come into this with my decision already made. So I had not made my decision earlier. I have now that I've listened to everyone. From personal experience, covenants can be changed later and after. I understand the concern for not wanting rentals, but homeowners can get together, and on the HOA, you can change the covenants with the majority vote, so that you can take legal action and do that. Looking at my notes here. One thing that I do have a concern over is people buying homes to something that was approved in 2020 as gated, and this setup. So if that was approved back in 2020, people have now built homes and bought homes nearby according to what was previously approved. That would be a concern for me as a homeowner. And then just, general appeal and layout, I don't see a reason why we would change what's already previously been approved. That's my 2 cents.
Gina, I saw your light on.
Yes, because I'm pretty much in Amy's camp. I will say that I do live in Sunrise Ridge, so I watch this very closely because there's a strip of ag that if that's sold, then I'm going to have neighbors in my backyard. And the view I have today, I don't want that. So I'm just being very candid with you. But I'm like Amy. I liked what we originally approved, because I agree with the gentleman that said, when I first saw this, I thought, oh no, here's the 131st and Harvard all over again with the small homes. So I'm not convinced why it needs to be changed. So I'm on the fence, quite honestly.
I would like to add one thing about the ponds. I do like the nice large pond, and I appreciate some of the details that you're trying to put into that. I personally lived in a neighborhood that had 2 very large ponds with, when those fountains would go out, it was a $10,000 fountain. It was extremely expensive to maintain. I'll be honest, that's one reason I moved out of that neighborhood, because I no longer wanted to spend the kind of money that they were expecting on the HOA dues. So I think that's a valid concern. I think the maintenance of water features and waterfalls and multiple 3 or 4 ponds, I do think that would be something to be thinking about. I don't think that necessarily has to be built that way, maybe amended in some way on the original plan to change those amenities to mitigate that cost, but still have some nice amenities for the homeowners. But I think that's a valid concern. I just, again, I prefer the more serene layout, the less straight boxy roads. I've lived in those neighborhoods too, and it's dangerous at times on the straightaways. So again, personal preference there.
Thank you, Amy. Gina?
We're not really being asked to pick between the two options, right? We're only being asked to.
No, we're being asked
To amend,
change
right,
what's already there.
right. At the developer's request, I guess, is what we're being asked to approve based on the development. Okay. That's, just want to check that.
Mrs. Hilton?
Yes, I would just say, on behalf of the public interest, that this is a recommending body. And so you make a recommendation to approve with conditions, or deny, and then the project goes to city council. And at that point, there is a decision that's made. And so I think we have some new members in our public, so I wanted to make that clarification. So thanks for that question.
Amy, I too like the subdivisions where we encourage in all of them to have a little more character to the way the streets are laid out. And we have had concern in the past, some of those straight line streets, and they have been a problem. These are not terribly long, however, they do encourage a little bit of a lead foot, which is why we've tried to make those kind of meandering as opposed to straight. Right, does anyone wish to make a motion on this item?
I would make a motion to deny this item.
Is there a second?
I would second that motion.
Okay, we have a proper motion and a second. Let's vote, please.
Gina?
Wait, I'm voting for, yes. Yes.
Amy?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Ray?
No.
Rob?
Yes.
All right, motion carries.
This item will still move forward with a recommendation of denial. Are there any further comments you want to add for the city council?
I do not. All right, does anybody need to take a break? You guys good? No, I'm good. I'm good. All right, let's proceed with agenda item number 6, major amendments to the comprehensive plan use map. Planning Commission may consider each item separately or in one motion. All documents for PA 24, 38 through 42 are listed under this item. Do we want to hear them all together?
I think I'll just go page by page if that's okay with you.
Okay.
And we'll talk about them that way.
All right.
Oh, they're right here.
So, okay, so we have PA 2438, and all of these are major amendments, and they were advertised accordingly. So I also wanted to talk very briefly about the difference between a major amendment and a minor amendment. So we realized some time ago that in our comprehensive plan, there was this was on the minor amendment issue tonight, but I'm going to talk about it in general for the comprehensive plan. So on the comprehensive plan, we realized some time ago that couple of weeks ago, honestly, that there was a disparity between some of the language in the text. And then we also realized, Ms. Montgomery reminded me that there was an issue probably in the chart. There needs to be better clarification, because it says amendments to the comprehensive plan require, I think, notice by signage. And that is true when it's a major amendment. So there's another place later in the code that says all comprehensive plan amendments refer to the comprehensive plan. So we need to clean up a little bit to make it clearer and to be a little bit more straightforward. Most communities, at least up to 5 years ago, did not advertise comprehensive plan amendments, period. They're done, they're either part of an application or they're done quarterly, or some communities never update their map and they only update their text when it's the entire makeover. So maybe they hire a consultant or they hire a staff internally and they update their comprehensive plan every 5 to 10 years. I like a more updated approach. I like my map to match the land use and or the zoning. So in some cases, you're probably not going to change. Our fire station number 2, for instance, is probably going to be there in perpetuity, so it should be public, semi-public. There's no chance that we're going to scrape that. I mean, there could be, but that's okay. We can update the plan. The reason some communities never bother with it, it's a map. It includes a map, but it's also a document that's used for guidance. Does not have any teeth. It is not codified. We don't use it. We use it for reference and for guidance. We don't use it to make laws, or our laws are based on it, we'll say, but we don't use it to enforce laws. Does that make sense? It's a guide. So, just reminding everyone, I think, and anyone who might ever listen to this, that there's some communities that never touch their comprehensive plan for every 5 years. And there's some communities like me who, when I come into a community, I like to update it as often and make it as accurate as possible. There are most communities, state statute, if you're a statutory city, the state statute does not, it only says you have to have one. It doesn't say how often you have to update it. It doesn't even have any elements that have to be in it. It's like you have to have one, so do it. And so I think that's a big reason why a lot of statutory cities just create it and then they leave it on the shelf and they don't ever apply it. So most of them, again, do not even notify the public, except for, I think some of them may actually notify via the paper. I think that's a very poor tool. Nobody's looking in the paper to find out if the land across the street is going to be more than a pasture. People don't do that anymore, except for maybe Miss Montgomery. She might be looking in the paper for that purpose. So I brought you a lot of minor amendments earlier. We're going to continue those, make sure that all the language is correct in the agenda, and make sure that there's good clarification as to the why behind them. I can also say that Mr. Schrout, the city manager, asked me why we kept taking one lot at a time on Main Street, because right there, across from where Mr. Robson's property is, we brought his property, and then we brought the next property next to it, and then they said, well, the next guy wants to update his, and kind of like Councilor Brown said and Mr. Sellers said tonight, it makes more sense if you did all of it at one time. And it does, and so he said, he basically implied, would you please stop bringing us one lot at a time? So I said, sure. And I thought, well, I'll go in and I'll clean up a lot of these things that aren't consistent with either the use or the zoning. So Marseille did it, just so you know. I like to confess in advance when I make these dramatic sweeping proposals and everybody gets all worked up about it. I did it. And I just was trying to make it match because I guess I'm from the 80s and I like everything to match. So that's why I did it. So PA 2438 is a request for residential medium intensity to local commercial. And on these, they are public notices, so they have the address. On the minor amendments, we put the general area that the property is located. We did not put addresses on them. There's no rhyme or reason for it. It just is what it is. So, but when you have a public notice, you do have to put the location, and if you have an address on a public notice, it's easier. So if there's a sign up, it makes sense to put the actual address, and that's what we did. Then the next one was 39, which was, and I'm going to go through these on the pages here in just a minute, multifamily to regional commercial. And parks and open space is number 40 to regional commercial. Number 41 is residential medium intensity to local commercial. And number 42 is residential low intensity to public and semi-public. So we don't use the public, semi-public very often, but I think that it's an important category. It would be used for anything owned by the city, maybe any of the city entities, and schools and churches. Those are primarily, like, if Tulsa Tech was in our boundary, then it would be that blue box. If it's a city-owned property, it should probably be a blue box. If it's owned by the aquarium or the OEF, I think it should probably be a blue box. It's a guide. It doesn't mean they can never do anything else. It doesn't mean the city can never do anything else. But if we want to do something else, then we'll go through that process, just like we did tonight. If we want to make a change, we have a process set in place, and we'll go through the process. But in general, when you're looking at a colorful map and you're trying to understand, I think identifying those properties with the blue box tells a better and a truer story than if it is a different color. It's nice to know that that's a church. And because a lot of times churches come in under specific use permits, they don't have to change the zoning, and they don't have to amend the comp plan. So you have a big yellow pasture, a big, 20-acre tract for a church, and you may think that because it's yellow and the index says that yellow means residential, you may think that residential is going to come in the future, but we all know that a church was approved. So how does that person who's looking at the map who doesn't know that that's a church? They're not going to know. So to me, I was just trying to play cleanup on something. So no big conspiracy theory there. On the major amendments, this was actually in the minor amendment things, but I'm going to, since it's on this agenda page, I'm going to go ahead and talk through it. This is some language that is being recommended. So you'll hear this in a few weeks at the next meeting. So for a major amendment currently, it would say that it's triggered if there's a change in the future land use map consisting of 100 acres or more. So for instance, when we see all that land along the river that has been known as the River District, and they've had a master plan over that area, I think it's probably 20 years. It might be over 10, but I think it's closer to 20 at this point. They've intended for it to be a commercial mixed-use development for a long, long time. But the land use map says that it's parks and open space. Well, for 20 years, we've known it's not going to be parks and open space. It's going to be some type of destination. So I think it's better to reflect that. So that was one of the things. So if it's 100 acres or more, that triggers a major amendment and an advertisement. Now, the bad side of that is that you put up a sign, and there's nobody out there to really see the sign unless you're meandering along that area for whatever reason. But at least the people who are interested in meandering will see the sign. So I have requested that we remove any request for industrial or residential manufactured home park because we no longer allow either one of those in our zoning category. It doesn't mean that the existing mobile home park that we have now would change. They actually, I don't even remember what their zoning is, but we're not going to approve one because we don't allow it in the code, so we may as well remove it from the amendments because it doesn't exist. There was also an error that says low intensity residential to, and it says medium intensity residential would trigger that if it jumps to density ranges. So if you wanted to go from low to high, that would be a major amendment versus low to medium or medium to high. That would be minor. And text amendments that are in conflict with or significantly alter the goals and policies of the plan. So major amendments may only be considered on a quarterly basis, and I think from a practicality perspective, so So I said earlier, you don't have to do a comp plan amendment as long as the general goals and policies of the entire document match the direction that you were going. If we wanted to put, I don't know, can't think of a good example right now. So we'll just keep going. But I feel like it would be acceptable, and this will be something that you can think about and let me know when we have this conversation where you can take action. When designated by council, that's what it says currently, or when accompanied by a new planned unit development or specific use permit. So rather than waiting for a quarterly adjustment to the for a major amendment, then I think if you have a comprehensive plan, so like tonight, there is no plan on that lot, and even if they wanted to do straight zoning, they still didn't have a plan, right? They didn't know what was gonna go there, or if anything was ever gonna go there. But if you have a good site plan and a good plan, and you've done your development process, and you kind of know the direction you want to move forward, then I don't see personally any reason why you couldn't do your major amendment at the same time. The rest of it, I think, stayed the same. So I do recommend approval of the 5 major amendments, and these amendments may receive 1 vote, or you can vote on them individually. So now I'll go into the bulk of it. So this is the document that we sent out. Actually, what we did is, since most of it was initiated by the city for cleanup, we just did one piece of paper like this. Instead of paying $120 per sign for each site, we used our old signs and put the documents out there and then refilled them. And I had a great idea to use these, but then I didn't have the energy to figure out how to attach them, so I laminated them, and that's as far as we got. We'll keep going. All right. This one is, oh, that's the same map. So we have 5 development areas. Number 1 is right here. And so this is that lot where we're trying to clean up and get that 3rd lot in there. So our GIS tech was so kind to make me this little map, and he shows us over here the zoning map where we've done the 1 already, and so we were just adding the 2. So now you have a clean sweep there of all 3 lots. So that's major amendment number 1. And number 2, this is what I was talking about. Oh, no, this one's different. So this is that apartment complex that was part of an approved PUD from several years ago. It was before I got here. And they're doing phase 1, and we did I think we did a major amendment on that PUD to allow them to do phase 1 and rearrange their development areas. So this one has always been, I don't know when we adopted it. When I got to Jenks, they were in the final phases of adopting their comprehensive plan, and they had it as apartments, even though it was a mixed-use project. And I just felt like you can do regional commercial, you can do apartments, high-intensity, mixed-use, whatever, and since that included both retail and apartments, I wanted to go ahead and clean it up and make that whole area along the river regional commercial. And that's what I'm proposing here on this project. And number 3 is this area that I was referring to as the River District. So same thing, this is where that master plan has been. It comes up in here. Of course, there's going to be lots of engineering. There's going to be huge, probably lake or pond in the future, but the reality is it was always meant to be a destination for over 20 years, and we need to go ahead and put it in the comp plan the way that it was intended to be. Let's look over here. This is the church that, remember I called this the dandelion lot? And so if you're looking at this, this looks like this is going to be single-family residential someday, and it's not. So I think that it should go to semi-public or public semi-public, and that's where you get the churches. You can see over here some of the blue color. That might be, that's not right. Do what?
Just south there.
Do what?
We're on 4, right?
Yes, did I skip 4?
Yeah, that was fine.
Sorry, I went right on. Okay, so I kind of, this is the zoning map, so they've already platted this. No, they haven't platted it. They rezoned it, so you can see the boundary lines. But this is the approved, we call it Elm Street Complex or something like that. So if you'll remember the PUD, it came in, I don't remember the year, but this right here was townhome zoning, and they already had industrial zoning, and then they had commercial shopping. So what you see is they had commercial on the hard corner, and I just went ahead, this is gonna be, so Brendan and I went back and forth, back and forth, and back and forth on this one. And he's like, well, if something happened in the PUD, wouldn't we rather have retail or commercial? And I said, yes, but the zoning is industrial. He goes, yes, but we don't even allow, you get the point. So we went back and forth. I believe the recommendation on number 4 is to amend it to be commercial. That was what we settled on.
And that's consistent with what we've done in some of these other developments.
Right, but it is gonna be self-storage, and it is gonna be industrial. That's why, I was trying to match the zoning. And he's like, yeah, but if it fails, wouldn't we rather have commercial? And I'm like, ah. So this is a case where I let Brandon win, so there you have it. And that's it on these 5, so that's all I got.
All right, thank you.
Mhm.
Do we need a public hearing on this?
No, I just have a couple questions.
Yes.
On 41, which I think is the number 4 that you were just talking about. So
Yes.
I thought that was, the hard corner was commercial, and then behind that was more of the duplex townhomes, and then the homes.
No, it was, and the approved PUD, these are the lines from the PUD.
Okay,
So this is accurate for the PUD. It
So we-
has, this is all commercial here. I'm gonna have to come back with a major amendment on this one because somehow he and I got our wires crossed and we didn't advertise that. So right now, this says residential still, and so we need to drag that pink line all the way down. And then this was always industrial zoning, and they are approved for self-storage in, and it's IM, that is the zoning there.
But
Okay.
there is residential going on.
This is the townhome, and then the rest of it is residential, yep.
So explain to me then why we would want to take it from residential medium to local commercial. You're saying that's because the storage units
It's,
have
yeah, the
already?
zoning is industrial, and they have an approved PUD that allows them to build self-storage.
So the storage facility that's what used to be Trojan Square, whatever it is, and then the storage is down by the fire department. Is that zoning industrial?
You mean the comp plan?
So we're gonna,
Yes, 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 yes.
I
so we have
know.
industrial between commercial and residential?
That is correct. That is approved. And this does not change that. That does not change with this. This is just me trying to clean up the comp plan.
That happens pretty frequently. No, the industrial between,
In between the two?
The buffering,
industrial's
yeah.
kind of a buffer to the residential. I mean,
Okay.
the whole Jinks industrial part,
Self-storage is, yeah.
west of 75 and backs up to residential.
Oh, that's very true.
Yeah.
And then I guess the other part is the number 5, changing the residential to public and semi-public. I don't really understand the need for that.
Because I feel like if someone's looking at this map for reference and for future plans, I think it is more, I think it tells the correct and accurate story that it's not gonna be residential, it's going to be a church, which is a semi-public space, not residential.
Okay, thank you. I just need a little reminder every once in a while what's going on there.
Yes.
People still live in that house, the same people?
Yeah. I don't feel bad for them. They got an attorney to check the system.
Continuing this until November.
Nope.
Not this, not these,
Not this.
just the minor amendments that were in consent.
We've been here a while.
Confusing, isn't it?
Charlotte or Kat, do you have anything to add to this? Okay. Okay. You guys are here and you stay the whole time, so I want to hear your question. I spent years and years and years with nobody here, so the fact that you two show up every time makes me happy.
Charlotte Montgomery, 10612 South Fir Avenue. On the Dandelion property, which is number 5, I remember when this came to the Planning Commission, and at that time, if I recall correctly, it was just a house on there, and it was a group of I don't know if they were immigrants or whatever that wanted to use that facility as a church. Is it still basically a house?
They wanted to build a new facility, a new
Okay.
building.
Okay.
Yeah, the house would stay. It's inside the Dandelion.
So they have built the new,
No.
No, not that I've seen.
okay,
The residence is still residential, and they are within the loop. And I don't know, I don't believe they've sold the house. They might have, but it's still a residence, and it will stay a residence, and the church will be around it. So if you approve this, that little yellow loop would not be included in the blue box. It would stay yellow.
okay. My only thought I had on this is if the church hasn't been built, why would you want to change the residential? Because that would be a perfect place to put in residential. Understanding that that is on a street that right now, everybody is really vocal about the amount of traffic. So it's not like, oh, well, that's a good thought, Charlotte, let's keep it as it is, because, you know, if someone comes in and wants to develop it, they're going to be right back here saying, you know, what about the schools, what about the streets, you know, things like that and infrastructure. But I do want to point out that if they haven't built anything there, I don't know that you want to change it.
I
That's-
do want to change it.
Okay. That, and it, you know, hey,
I talk to them pretty regular, and they're moving forward.
so why change it now till they put forth the effort and there's a building there?
We can change it later if someone wants to do residential. We'll come right back and have the same conversation.
I hope not. I want to retire sometime. And the other question I have, and it may be a very quick one because you may tell me, no, we can't do this. My question is that on item 6C, which is over by the Outlet Mall, it's from parks and open space to regional commercial, and it's a major amendment. And then I wanted to ask you, why then is
On the consent?
no, on the regular, item, yeah, PA
Oh, okay,
2440.
6C, got it.
It says open spaces to regional commercial, that's a major amendment, but yet on the consent agenda, you have on item 1H that it's, you know, from, wait, do I have the right one? Okay. From open space, yes, on item 1H, that's going from parks and open space to regional commercial, but yet that's a minor amendment. So why
That's
is
why
one
we're not
minor?
having, it was not written correctly.
Okay,
It's an
okay,
error.
I
So
was
we're taking
having, you know,
all
I
that
was
off.
having a meltdown. Why was there that difference?
Yeah,
So-
no, it cannot be both.
Okay, thank you. That's all the comments I had.
Thank you. I don't know if you noticed it or not, but you had a little Freudian slip when you got up the first time, and you almost said, as a matter of fact, you did say, since I've been attending planning commission meetings. So, I like that, thank you.
The 8th member of the planning commission.
And you're welcome to sit up front if you want. You don't have to go all the way to the back if you don't want to.
Catherine Lenhart, 777 West 106th Street South. I do not have the sheets and my phone died, so I just want to make sure I understand number
Do you want to
5.
see this one?
It's kind of this
you want-
same, yeah, let's see that. Same question, because you want to change it before it's already a permitted use? Is that what you're saying?
No, it is a permitted use. It is an approved use.
Okay, so you just want to just change the color because it's already
I
in
want it to
motion.
match what is approved.
Okay.
Yep.
And then I had emailed you in the spring or summer and talked about districts and labels and a map like Tulsa Planning or Tulsa Partnerships. You said we don't have districts, we use INCOG, something like that was your answer. But is there, again, like a housekeeping for people to understand, if you want things to match and it's pretty current, wouldn't it be great if we had that map?
Well, that was actually, your email prompted me to get these cleaned up so that I could put a newer PDF out
Wow.
to the public.
Charlotte, your internship program's working really well.
I was like, well, it's still not right, so let's clean it
You're
up
getting
and then
there.
we'll put it out.
And then the thing with number 2, apartments mixed use, and you're saying you're gonna change that to regional commercial. Was that worked out about the trails going through?
Oh, no.
None of that's been
No.
finished yet.
It wouldn't, that will happen. It's just part of what's happening soon. But it's always been a destination. There's a huge master plan that's not gonna happen now, but it doesn't, the intent has always been.
I saw that from the county from 2003.
Yeah.
But I haven't found anything about the River District going on for 20 years.
I
only
don't
the
know.
TIP
I'm
agreement.
wondering if I got the dates, because I said 20 years. I'm wondering if I got the dates with the river master plan mixed with the river
Yes,
district.
because I have those emails and meeting minutes from 2003 to 2005, and that's when all of that was
Right.
going on.
That's what I'm thinking. I was like, maybe 10 years, but it feels like it was 20. I looked yesterday, I actually unrolled the master plan to look for a date, and there wasn't one on it, so I'm not sure. It's been a long time.
Okay, cool, thanks.
Thank you. Oh, yeah. All right. Seems as if we can approve or make a motion on all of these as combined under item number 6. If
I
there's
make a
not-
motion to approve item number 6 to do the major adjustments listed.
A second.
Let's vote, please.
Gina?
I thought you were saying it was the other way around, that minor should not have been on the minor and it was a major.
Item 6 had all major amendments. The other one was in the,
She was referring to number 3.
3 was in the
1H,
consent
1H.
agenda.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a,
We have a motion.
we have a
second.
motion and we have a second.
Yes, let's vote,
So
please.
Gina,
I think it's yes. Yes.
Amy,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Ray,
Yes.
and Rob.
Yes.
Okay.
Planning updates?
Yes. Thank you. I have spoken with a developer, and I have talked to each of you about having a special meeting for a final plat. And we have tentatively set the date via our communications individually on, let's see here. I think we decided Monday, the 28th, and I was asking you all if you could select a time before we leave tonight. So do you want the normal 6 PM time? Do you want it earlier? Do you want it in the middle of the day? It is yours to, it's one item on the agenda. Everything else will come at later.
This is on the 28th.
Yes.
I'm
Monday
in
the
Oklahoma City till probably before
4?
Yeah.
Okay, so afternoon or evening would be better,
Late afternoon
Yep.
or evening.
evening.
Late afternoon would work.
Same time then?
6.
Yeah, 6 is fine. Yeah. Yeah,
Okay. I'll provide chocolate, but not food.
that's fine.
Correct. Just chocolate.
Okay, got it.
6 o'clock on the 28th.
6 on Monday, the 28th. Okay, I'm going to actually send you all a calendar request for that one, just because it's
I don't know
one
how to
that's
do
not
that.
normally on the, do what?
I don't know how to do that,
Oh.
but I'll be here
Okay.
at 6 o'clock.
6 PM on Monday, October 28th. Thank you all very much for that. I appreciate it. And we got the contract awarded to Beck Design for the downtown master plan. Hunden is the group that's doing the economic development portion, and they have already kicked it off. They are waiting, probably not patiently, for me to give them information. I saw an email come through today, but I did not even read it. And the Walter P. Moore has already started the parking study. So both pieces of Phase 1 are well underway, which is very exciting. I think we'll have, early next year, we'll have some good conversations. There will be a lot of opportunity for public feedback as we move through this process, so we're excited.
Good.
Yeah.
All right, I want to thank everybody tonight for your questions, for your attentiveness, for your preparation, and for your patience with everyone who wanted to speak. And I think we did a great job tonight, so thank you guys
Thank
very
you.
much. I did hear a term tonight, I don't think I've ever heard, a starter forever home.
Yeah.
All right, that's a new one, but that's cool. Go for it.
Until the second home comes.
That's right. All right, we will call this meeting adjourned at 8:55. Thank you.
Thank you so much.